memorial service for a beloved fallen comrade of ours named JAMMYMAN. JAMMYMAN from the start was one of the community's best advocates. He really trained up a lot of people, learned the game mechanics inside and out, and never took advantage of any kind of flaw of the game. He always played with honor, respect, and he wanted more than nothing else to bring the community together, tighter, celebrate the common thread that brings us all together is the brotherhood of the game, teamwork, and he really appreciated that. I had the fortunate luck that several years after he left the game, I took over his seat, where I was host squad coordinator and everything, and I see the importance and the legacy of his work, and that's why I'm here today, celebrating and respecting this gentleman. I'd like to first have speak about his memories and fond times list. You ready and prepared?
Yeah, ready. Yeah, that was very well said. A lot of people here know Jammy. A lot of these vets know Jammy, but I just want to just talk a little bit about my history with Jammy and how we met. Me and Jammy played Microsoft Combat Flight Simulator together back in the mid to late 90s, and in that Microsoft game, there was a really large squad there called the CSS group, and Jammy, being the unselfish, very helpful, patient person that he is, invited me on a verbal communication system in the day was called Roger Wilco. Some of you old timers will remember that old verbal communication system. And I got to know Jammy through that game, and we played through the end of the 90s and up to 2000. And there was a number of us in that Microsoft Combat Flight Simulator group that got together and took a trip to St. Louis, Missouri, to play in the Microsoft Combat Flight Simulator Challenge. And right at that time, we had just started playing this new game called World War II Online. And this is like, I think World War II Online started in 2000, 2001. You guys can chime in later after I get done all this and correct all these dates. But we had been playing World War II Online while we were playing Microsoft Combat Flight Simulator, and we had purchased the game in the stores. It was available in the stores then, but it was still a non-pay-to-play game. I think we played that way, non-pay-to-play, for about 6 months or a year maybe until it went pay-to-play. But we were right at the start of World War II Online, and while we were at this Combat Flight Simulator challenge, which was a very large con in St. Louis, probably some of the first cons that were ever put together back in the 90s, and we played that game. We had World War II Online under our skin fiercely, to the point where we were the only guys in that whole convention hall that broke our computers down and took them back up to our room so we could play this game. And so that's kind of how I got to know Jammy, was through Microsoft Combat Flight Sim. Roger Wilco took the game to St. Louis, played it there because we just couldn't stop playing. It was the game that we knew that was the future of such a large map and combined arms. And so it was just a great time. So so through that's how I got to know Jammy. We played Microsoft Combat Flight Simulator soon fell to the side because it just couldn't compete with this game, and so we focused on this game, and we've been playing since the game started. Well, Jammy was, as the game went on for a couple years, I think it was a year or two or three until the HE-111 actually hit the theater, and that all the forums, the talk about the up and coming vehicles. This was something that he was really chopping at the bit at, because this is what we did in Combat Flight Simulators, was fly B-17s and have big bombing raids and all that kind of stuff. So once that 111 hit the theater, that was that's where Jammy really started to shine and create some really unbelievable bombing missions. In fact, some of the first missions that I remember with Jammy, with some of the Microsoft guys that we played with in CSS and then came over to World War II Online, we had about 15 of us. Our first major raid that I remember was from Verviers to Ramay, and that was an unbelievable. It was so unbelievable. There was about 15, 20 HE-111s flying over Ramay in a formation. It was never done before. And the Allies were on the forums, you know, just blasting about how awesome that looked. And that was, you know, that was the hand of JAMMYMAN and all of his, you know, coordination and his effort. He was also, I think he coordinated, and some of you vets, Dwellin, and some of you guys will probably remember, he put together, I think it was north of 120 aircraft. We had 120 to 140 aircraft in the air. It was just an amazing thing, and we were flying over to the French factories to bomb these factories, and if you didn't have a good computer, it was hell because you couldn't have everything rendered. But man, it was amazing to see. There was at least 120 to 140 Axis aircraft just on the Axis side. There were, you know, probably at least 60 Allied players at least coming at us in the air going towards the factories. That was something that really was to behold. I mean, it was an incredible thing to see, and you know, just some of those memories I just wanted to talk about here. Jammy could also hit a bridge at 5,000K. You could be 5,000, 5,500K above a bridge, and JAMMYMAN could nail that bridge and take it out. He's just he was an excellent testament to and a good person in this game, and he'll be sorely missed.
Liz, thank you. I think we all can sense the sincerity in your voice on that one. I appreciate that, and I couldn't agree more. I remember some of the same things, and you have to talk about Roger Wilco. Thanks. We're all old. Dwellin, I'd like for you to step up, please, and I know you have a few things.
It's tough to follow that one up, List, my brother. It's good to see you back, for starters, and you know, to hear some memories from those days. So I didn't know Jammy way back then. I wish I'd have known him way back then, because you guys went to St. Louis, and that's just 2 hours away. I could have come down and played some Combat Flight Sim with you. But way back in the day, I flew Stukas almost exclusively. And then the 111 gets introduced. And so I met JAMMYMAN back then. Now remember, back then, High Command was nowhere near what it is today. We didn't have brigades to move around. You know, we didn't have any of that stuff. And so High Command was really more just field leadership. Yeah, there were individual ranks and stuff like that, but it was just field leadership. You led in the field. So Jammy, the 111, comes in like List was talking about. And you're right. That's where he really started to shine. He formed this thing called the SLWK. And some of you old-time vets might remember that. The Strategisches Luftwaffenkommando. And it was just bombing is all we did. We didn't have factories to bomb back then. And in a day where people were trying to learn the best way to use the 111 to dive in and hit the most accurate way they could, Jammy and a bunch of others of us, List, you were included in that, and a bunch of other guys I see on this channel, we didn't dive in. We sat up there at 4.5K over a town, and we just level bombed towns. And it was different, and it was new, and people weren't used to seeing that. And I can remember the way that he would coordinate. I remember those bombing runs, List, that you're talking about. We'd go to the Allied factories, and you know, back in the day of limits on visibility of how many planes you could see at once, and it was tough to fight in there. You know, I flew in someone in 111s. I flew in some as 109s, and they were fun. I mean, they were a blast. And you're right. Jammy's hands were all over that. And as a matter of fact, I say to this day, Jammy's hands are all over at least the Axis bombing wing. obviously there's not as many of us anymore, but those of us that stick around from way back then, you know, we still jump in the 111, and I still use the same basic tactics that he used way back in the day and he introduced. I can remember, you know, how he'd set it up and he'd be like, all right, we need this and this. And he just knew what he was doing. You followed him. He was a pleasure to be around all the time. List alluded to it and spoke about it very well. He was a guy that you just had the utmost respect for. He knew what he was talking about, and you just knew it. From the instant you started talking to him, you understood that that man knew his stuff, and he loved this game. You know, it's interesting you mentioned the CSM, or the combat flight sim stuff, and you know, how you guys would break your stuff down even way up there and take them back to the room, because I can remember I was in college at the time, and that's what I would do. You know, I'd break my computer down at my dorm and bring it all the way back home on weekends. You know, it was just the way it was. And Jammy was a big part of that. You know, Jammy brought a lot of my enjoyment of flying back in that day. I wouldn't stick around this game way back then if he hadn't done what he did for me and done what he did for the air game in general. You know, and here I am right now taking off in a 109 to sit beside Jammy's bomber one last time. And it's like old times, man. I'm tearing up just sitting here seeing his name fly in front of me one more time. You know, he was such an inspiration in so many ways. And I don't think I can say it any better than List did, but you know, I wish I had a chance to thank him, you know, one more time for all the fun he brought me in this game.
Yeah, I have to say one more thing there. He is definitely one of the reasons why I stayed with this game. His organization and desire to want to group people together. He would sit on an airfield for an hour or more to get 100 aircraft to go to some big mission somewhere. And so there's no doubt in my mind that there's people. I still play this game and because of that man. So yeah, that's well said, Dwallin. Circling aircrafts are taking off.
Okay. I just want to remind, you know, this is another cancer loss. If you guys can support it in some way, help to defeat this awful with research, whatever, please do your kind. He was 58 years young. And with everything we've said, boy, what an impact he's had on this game and online. This game, in a lot of ways, is not just a game that I think we've all come. We've tried to talk about the World War II online experience, and that's these memories that we're hearing about are really real friendships and they're real bonds, but they're virtual in a lot of ways. When you actually get to meet these people in person, like I have, and I know some others have been to cons. I mean, my wife's even wanted to go, and she's come and she's had a blast because she got to meet the people that I respect dearly and look up to. All right, what I'd like to do is just take, if anyone has anything to say that you can keep it to about 30 seconds or a brief memory, I'll give you an opportunity to. All right. I just want to have a moment of silence real quick, and then we're going to do the last call. All right.
If anybody has anything to say in the meantime, go ahead and say it. Haitian, we're about 2 minutes from.
This is Porsche. I just want to let you guys know, much like Dwallin said, and I remember all those guys back in the day, but being a ground pounder most of the time, coordinating stuff with the CL was always a pleasure to get these guys blow a town so we could get in here and take over a bunker and move our way through. It was just amazing. The camaraderie from top to bottom of this game, from all guys at the beginning that helped each other and continue to help each other, makes it amazing.
Porsche, I have a throwing binder when I was first in HC early in the game's history, and I have a throwing binder of all the towns that were available back then. Excuse me, all the towns that were available back then, aerial photographed with all the correct altitudes over sea level because of JAMMYMAN and his crew. It made me be able to do HC attacks so much easier because I knew the bombing heights that they needed because Jamie did the math and already did all the work. and he took aerial photographs of every town. I mean, that's a level of dedication that I've yet to really match myself, but I try.
I just
I
like
still got some of
to,
that.
if I could add, it's just a eulogy that I like to say to everyone that sits past, and that's here's to us, ways like us, guy few, and they're added. Bless you, Jammy.
I concur.
I forgot the town maps, Heavy. Holy shit.
I have them. I have them still. All right.
Okay, we're about 1 minute to final pass, fellas. So just stand by, Haitian. I'll give you a call. Pilots, I'm going low.
Gunners, make sure you're on the number 2 position.
All right, men, take it ready. This is going to be Jammy's final flight. He'll cross that river alone, and he'll continue west home.
When I give the call to Haitian for the last call, that just have silence, please. Okay, Haitian, last 30 seconds.
Air Command, calling 111 pilot, JAMMYMAN. Air Command, calling 111 pilot, JAMMYMAN. Do you read? Air Command, calling 111 pilot, JAMMYMAN. Do you read? You're cleared for your final flight. Godspeed. We have it from here. Air Command out.
Master of Arms, commence.
Battery, make ready to fire. 21 rounds sequential. Gun number 1 ready. Gun number 1, fire. Gun number 1, fire. Gun number 1, fire. Battery, stand down.
Men dismissed.
Thank you, gentlemen.
That was awesome, guys.
At rest.
Brought tears to my eyes.
All right.
Same here.
I apologize for interrupting, but would you like to hear an old Irish death poem that my
Yes.
great-grandfather composed?
Please.
Death is nothing at all. It does not count. I have only slipped away into the next room. Everything remains as it was. The old life that we lived so fondly together is untouched, unchanged. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by the old familiar name. Speak of me in the easy way which you always used. Put no sorrow in your tone. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes that we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name ever be the household word, that it always was. Let it be spoken without effort. Life means that it all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is unbroken continuity. Why should I be out of mind? Because I am out of sight? I am waiting for you, for an interval, somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well, nothing is hurt, nothing is lost. One brief moment and all will be as it was before. How we shall laugh the trouble of parting when we meet again. Thank you.
Wow.
Well said.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks.
Thanks, guys, for showing up. This channel will remain open for however long you need it. The training server will remain this way for the next few hours, so please feel free to hang. Everyone does have a free account, so if you want to be back on the live server, even as a rifleman, please, you're welcome. Today is our home. This is our home, so please feel welcome.